Hey guys, welcome to our third video log. Today we are doing Viking meat halls and the longhouses. Um, so the way we're going to do this is we're going to split this into two sections. First section, we're just going to give you some general information and some context for where it is in the film. And the second part is us analyzing some of the images that we used. First thing is the Viking meat halls. The way that they were organized were two or three very very long tables, about 12 feet long, um, with chairs on both sides. On the walls in the meat hall were covered with shields, swords, and all kinds of furs: bears, elks, foxes, and a lot of the shields and the swords were from, fallen soldiers. I mean, Vikings were pretty aggressive people, so tribes would be fighting other tribes, and your kinsmen would die, and so they would honor them by putting their armor and their shields and their weapons up on the wall. And just for the sake of it, this image here, these are the exteriors of meat halls that are up today. But on the outside, they're pretty pretty bare design. Yeah,
Realistic.
yeah, minimalist is a great word. We're adding a little bit more flair to ours, especially around the door.
So we're gonna talk about the Viking longhouses now. It's essentially like the same thing as a meat hall, except the big long tables and the big elaborate detailed fireplaces are missing. Its main purpose is for residences.
Yeah, there are smaller tables, just these big, massive 12-foot long tables are, and the throne's missing, of course.
Yeah. So typically these structures had a width of 15 to 21 feet and a length of 16 to 23 feet. The size all depended on the social status of the village. In much of the Norse regions, these longhouses were built with wooden frames on a simple stone foundation. Walls were constructed of wooden planks, logs, or wattle or daub. So the walls of the longhouses would be lined with benches that were used for all manners, like sitting, eating, sleeping, and sometimes working. Almost never did the longhouses have windows, but if they did, they'd be located on the ceilings and covered in some kind of an animal membrane. All natural light that came into the house would have been through the smoke holes in the ceilings or from an open door.
So yeah, that's really the topic for this week, and now we're gonna break down these images.
Okay, sounds good. This first image we have is it's an interior of the Viking meat hall.
This is actually concept art from Beowulf to the 2007 film.
Yeah. First thing I saw, I noticed the lines of the image, the pillars, and the structure of the roof, and the table, the alignment of the tables. It was all bringing your eye, into the center of the picture where the throne and the king all sits.
And then there's one single light source, which is almost in the center of the image, which seems to be illuminating most of everything, which is casting these really harsh shadows from the tables up onto the ceiling, from the cross beams, and this high contrast makes the center of the image, the home of the image, seem very inviting. Where it's all centered around, the tables are all centered around this, and there's the big pot for the stew or whatever you're cooking for the evening, and so it's very inviting and brings us again back into the center of this image. And
when you say inviting, I thought of the color tones. They're very warm. It makes me feel safe, and that's the mood that we're trying to set.
Another aspect of this image that I felt really resonated with our film, and I think probably helped influence us in terms of color palette and choices, is another warm color is this incredibly deep red on these flags. And we wanted to use the deep red for our carvings and just for the paint and our border designs and everything. And this deep red is just another significant thing within the story of Ragnarök. So I think that does it for this image.
Alright, you want to start us off with this one?
Yeah. So for this image, the first thing I'd like to talk about is the line work. I like how the rope in the very center of the image, if you go up to the ceiling, there's this rope that's coming down to a four-spoked crank. The bottom spoke is pointing directly to the fire, which is our main source of light here, and is in the left center third of the image, so it's pretty central. If you follow that rope back up to the ceiling, there's another line that comes down to the center of this big wooden door, and then another line that goes up through the center, and another line to the right. And it also goes back down to the ground. I just think these lines add a really, really interesting way of directing our eye. It's a path for us to follow.
Yeah. Just notice the amount of detail, the clutter on the tables, and then the single source light, which is used in the previous image of the fire, and that's where my eye was drawn to. The pig roasting was really cool. And then you can see some of the fill light comes from the candles that are hanging from the chandeliers and the torches. There's not much light, but it's very, again, it's very warm and soft, and it's that safe haven. Another thing I like to bring up is the contrast of, you can see the windows. There's one on each side of the frame. There's one on the right, the left, and the middle, and there's like this really soft blue light that's coming through, and that it's like a hot to cold contrast. You're getting a little taste of what's outside in the barren, like the cold night air, but no, we're inside.
And because there's one on each third of the image, the left, the center, and the right, it's cool because it plays against the warm lights that are in the left, right, and center thirds of the image. You have on the right side, like you said, you have this cold blue sliver of light, but then you also have the chandelier and the torch. So there's three sources there. In the center, you have another sliver of light, the blue light, you have a torch, and then you have our brightest source of light, you have the big fire. So there's three there. And then on the left side, it's a little bit more cluttered than that, but you have the chandelier, you have the torch, you have the bench, which is being illuminated, and for seemingly no reason, you have the horse head on the big
pot,
the big
wooden
pot
pot.
there, the big wooden pot there.
Cauldron.
It doesn't really seem to be. That's probably the word, cauldron. There doesn't really seem to be a light source from this particular image. It seems as if it would be coming from behind us to the left. There would be something shining onto that. But I think
there's a shadow that's being.
Yeah, exactly. But I think what it does is it adds a really cool continuity in terms of evenness of the image. You know, we have an even number of warm sources for every frame. We have 4 on the left, we have 2 in the center, and we have 2 on the right. But they're all complemented by this dark blue coldness from the outside.
So we have an image. It's another interior. Would this be a longhouse?
This is a longhouse in Ribe, Denmark. Yep.
One word to describe this image for you, Ben.
Heavenly.
Heavenly. There it is.
Heavenly. For the reasons of really just the lighting. You have this really warm light on the wall on the inside and up on the ceiling, and contrasted by this.
Got these 2 hot spots.
Yeah, these blue and white hot spots.
These blown out windows. Very, very heavenly.
Yeah, it's almost like heaven's right outside. You know, you're right outside the door. It's right there, and the gods are these blue beams. It's like the gods shining light down in through the windows. Content-wise, I'd just like to.
It's a lot cleaner.
It's a very clean image. It's not cluttered like the other ones. There's still a lot of texture though. You have the fur on the wall. You have the nice metallic center of that shield. It's getting a nice ping. The flowers are very well lit. They seem very, at least to me, they seem soft. Yeah. What about what in the lower part of this image? What about the silhouettes and the rim light?
Yeah. I'm not really sure. That's where my eyes were drawn to first. Thanks to the help of those lines. I mean, I guess my eyes hit that hot spot on the table, and then from there, I went upward. But I saw these figurines. I don't know if they're figurines or if they're part of the benches.
I think they're the sides of the bench.
Sides of the benches. This is just incredible detail, and that's what Peter Jackson's looking for, and it's what sells the locations. And
Something I just noticed right now. If you look at the table, the table at the bottom of the frame, if you look at the left side along the edge of it, it's actually red. The red at the bottom of the table is a really nice contrast between the white in the center of the table and then the blue hitting the table from the window, and the blue kind of slight lens flare we're getting from on the upper right hand corner of the image. And I didn't even notice the red at the beginning, but it is helping me see that blue. It's helping add that contrast.
And this is an example of using a haze machine or like some kind of a smoke machine that puts this really light texture of smoke. It just adds something to the room, and the light's able to pick that up, and you're able to see the direction of the light.
And so the light draws my eye, but another thing is the lines of the structure of the ceiling. They're all slanting down and to the right, which then hits the line of the wood that creates the wall, which is also all going down. So everything brings me down towards the light. The angle of the tables, the angle of the ceiling, the angle of the walls. It all brings me really down to the light in the center of the image.
I think that just about does it for this chapter, this segment of our Ragnarok lookbook. So tune in next time.
See ya.
See ya.